Hello, and welcome to the Delaware Area Career Center remote presentation on work-based learning student opportunities for senior year. This presentation is intended as an introduction to work-based learning for parents and guardians of current DACC juniors. My name is Carrie Tressley, and I proudly serve as the DACC Career Tech Supervisor. I've included my contact information here, as well as a picture, so you can put a face to the name when we're able to meet again in person, which will hopefully be in the not too distant future. As I mentioned a moment ago, this presentation is an introduction to work-based learning. The topics I'm going to cover include the following. I'm going to define what work-based learning is. I'm going to talk about what work-based learning at DACC looks like, what it takes for a student to be eligible to participate. We'll do a quick review of the required documentation, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal and how we can incorporate it into students' WBL experience at DACC. The Delaware Area Career Center believes that students learn from their involvement in structured, work-based learning experiences that are coordinated with what's taught in the classroom. You can see on this slide what the formal federal definition of work-based learning is. It's sustained interactions with industry or community professionals in real workplace settings or simulated work environments at an educational institution that foster in-depth, first-hand engagement with the tasks required in a given career field. At DACC, we look to develop partnerships with a purpose. Collaborating with business and industry, our lab instructors work hard to prepare students for high skill, high wage, and in-demand job opportunities in our community. Work-based learning is an extension of the student's instructional program. Though it's under the overall supervision of the Career Tech Supervisor, which is me, the foundation of WBL is the Career Tech instructor who's actively involved in planning for and supervising their participating students. So the data that you see on this slide is from September through February. And though we still have a few students working as their positions have been deemed essential, this data is up until we had the school building closure and the subsequent transition to remote learning. So you can take a look at the different types of work-based learning: internship, job placement, pre-apprenticeship, the number of students, the number of hours in each category, and then the wages earned for job placement and pre-apprenticeship. The Ohio Department of Education has identified 6 types of WBL, each with its own specific requirements. Since these specific categories of WBL have been identified, which was just in November of 2019, we've been examining the practices we've had in place at DACC, putting them into the appropriate categories and making sure we follow the framework that's put forth by the State Department of Education. Work-based learning is certainly not new to career technical education. It's just a matter of us conforming to the state requirements and ensuring all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed when it comes to processes and documentation. Our most common opportunities available to students at DACC are job site placement, which we call job placement, internships, and to a smaller degree, pre-apprenticeship. Because job placement and internships are what the majority of our WBL students participate in at this time, they're what I'm going to focus on as we continue through this presentation. We are working on growing our numbers in the other areas and making sure that we have the appropriate frameworks. But as I said, job placement and internships are the majority of our students' programs. So let's continue with them. When a student participates in job placement or internship, he or she is reporting to the worksite in lieu of attending lab every day. The schedules may vary, but because the work experience is often taking place during some but not all lab days, we have very high expectations for student eligibility to participate. Because the work experience replaces some of the lab time, and there is an expectation that a student possesses a higher level of technical skills, program participants are most often seniors. The first year in a career technical program is spent learning foundational skills, laying the groundwork for later, more skilled and adept performance in a career field. Job placement and internships are very similar, with the exception that job placements are paid positions and internships at DACC are not paid positions. But for our purposes here, student eligibility for participation in either is the same. So that's what we're going to talk about next. The criteria and guidelines you see listed must be met and maintained in order to qualify and remain in the work-based learning program. So students need to maintain a 93% or better attendance, have at least a 2.5 GPA, and maintain a B or better in lab courses, excuse me, and they must be on track and remain on track for graduation with no deficiencies or other hindrances that would prevent them from receiving a diploma on schedule. A student needs to pass all required Career Center testing, such as the web exams. They must have no discipline infractions that resulted in suspension in the past 6 months. So please note that discipline infractions, either major or minor, will likely result in removal from the program. The student must have a parent or guardian support and approve of their participation in the program. They need to demonstrate a positive attitude and professional appearance. And students must have a valid driver's license with adequate and reliable transportation to and from the worksite. All school financial obligations must be paid or have a payment plan in place. Students need to be 16 years of age or older, and they must be able to pass a pre-employment drug and alcohol screening. So how do students apply for WBL? For a student to get the proverbial work-based learning ball rolling, he or she needs to take the following steps. First, check with the career technical instructor to make sure that the student is eligible. You can also check with the CT instructor for leads on supervised WBL possibilities. If a student has a job opportunity, check in with the CT instructor to see if the potential job training site meets the program needs. An on-site visit by the CT instructor may be required before the approval will be granted. Many times, students have been able to make connections with potential employers through their previous job shadowing experiences. These are really great opportunities to get employment leads. The fourth step is to pick up an application for work-based learning from the main office. This application is going to require the signatures of a number of folks, including the CT instructor, academic instructors, attendants, school counselor, treasurer's designee, parent guardian, and the CT supervisor, which is me. So when the completed application for WBL is returned to me, I will then schedule a meeting with the student. We'll talk about the student eligibility status. We'll go over the requirements, the expectations, answer all of the frequently asked questions that we have come across as we go through this process. Students will have a clear understanding of what they need to do, how they'll be communicated with, what they need to report, etc., before the final approval is awarded and we determine the start date. And those things, the approval and the start date, are determined once everything is in order. Please note that all forms must be completed, approved, and turned in before the work experience can begin. Also, we're currently in the process of transitioning to an online system for WBL applications, reporting, and other documentation to create some efficiencies with our communication and tracking. So we hope to have this in place for the fall. Throughout this process, I communicate and work closely with the career technical instructor to ensure we're providing a safe and enriching experience for students. All placements must be related to the student's career technical curriculum and be of a quality that the student will benefit from the placement. Also note that each career technical instructor will be talking to his or her classes in the fall about work-based learning. So your student will be able to hear some more detailed information from the instructor in the fall. We initially had a class meeting scheduled for March 16th. Unfortunately, with the building closure and subsequent move to remote learning, we were unable to hold that meeting. but we hope to be able to provide additional details and information to the junior class as a whole in the future as well. So recall what we reviewed just a few moments ago, the guidelines and required documents for WBL provided by the Ohio Department of Education. Looking at this list, it's another reason we're making the move to more online and electronic documentation. The packets and stacks of paper can certainly become quite cumbersome. If you take a look at the list on the slide, you can see that the first document on there is the agreement. The agreement's part of the application, and it must be signed by the student, instructor, employer or mentor, and the CT supervisor. It outlines the expectations of all of the parties and makes sure that we are all on the same page. Hours and wages, if applicable, need to be tracked. So they are tracked weekly by the students and submitted to the instructor to document attendance in lieu of being in the lab. And just to reiterate, a student's schedule can look different week to week, but often it's a combination of 4 days of work and 1 day of lab instruction once they've been placed out on job placement or internship. This weekly report is also signed off on by the employer or mentor as well. The competencies performed by students are outlined in a training plan. This is developed by the career technical instructor in conjunction with the employer or mentor. This is how we ensure students are learning the standards and curriculum required in their lab courses. It's just happening in a real life setting. The training plan is adapted as needed throughout the course of student participation in work-based learning. The last piece listed here is the evaluation. There's an evaluation that is completed by the employer or mentor at regular intervals. This is typically done on a monthly basis. The student is evaluated on performance on the technical skills outlined in the training plan, as well as other general employability skills such as punctuality, safety, attendance, judgment, reliability, and adaptability. The student's performance on this evaluation informs the lab grade each quarter. As you can no doubt tell by now, there's a lot of required documentation that goes along with work-based learning participation. Because many pieces for work-based learning correspond to what is required for the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, we feel it's a natural fit to add this opportunity in for those students who are participating in work-based learning. So what is the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal? It's a formal designation that a student earns by demonstrating professional skills in the workplace. This will be found on the high school diploma at the end of the student's high school career. Earning the seal is a verification that students have demonstrated proficiency in these 15 identified professional skill areas. And if you take a look at these areas that are listed here, you can see a lot of them coincide with what the student is being evaluated on during their work-based learning experience as well. So why the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal? The Ohio Department of Education gives us 5 reasons students should try to earn the Readiness Seal. 1, it's something to brag about. It's an addition to college applications or resumes and shows a student has a set of 15 professional skills that people are looking for. Number 2, it helps students stand out in the crowd. It's an advantage because many Ohio businesses and colleges recognize the seal and know that candidates with it already have a basic set of professional skills that lead to success. Number 3, it helps students make connections. 3 trusted adults and mentors, certify students demonstrate the required skills. And having these strong relationships can help build the professional network. We believe that students' participation in work-based learning with their employer or mentor serving as one of these trusted adults fits into the program very, very well. Number 4, it recognizes the work that they're already doing. Student involvement in school activities, the community, or work such as work-based learning is recognized by earning the seal. And 5, it lets students take charge. Students can take the initiative and begin the process of verification of skills on their own. So let me explain that just a little bit more. How does a student earn the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal? If any work-based learning student is interested in pursuing the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, we will help facilitate the process through our WBL application, paperwork, and employer evaluation process. Earning the OMJ Readiness Seal process includes working with 3 adult mentors to document the demonstrated professional skills on the form and going through the appropriate submission process. And as I just mentioned, we believe that the employer is able to serve as one of the required adult mentors. They are to use the Readiness Seal validation form that you can see right here, and they can document that the student has demonstrated one or more, oftentimes multiple, in the case of a work-based learning experience, one or multiple of these skills. DACC will work in conjunction with the student's homeschool to provide support for the completion of this. Just because we are doing this with our students through work-based learning, it does not preclude any student who's not participating in work-based learning from pursuing the Readiness Seal. But for our purposes here, we want you to know that we believe it's a seamless fit into our existing process, and we will work to help our WBL students through the process if they're interested in pursuing the Ohio Means Readiness Seal. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate you taking the time to review this presentation. If you have questions that you would like addressed, I plan to hold a virtual meeting Wednesday, April 22nd during parent-teacher conference time. Details on how you can participate if you would like to can be found in the email you received from me. You may also contact me through email at any time to ask questions or to schedule a phone conference if questions arise now, later, or anytime throughout the school year. I hope to see or hear from you soon. Be well.